guys, we're back here at Willow Springs doing another build. We got a pretty radical car today. It looks like a full tube chassis. What was your name?
Justin.
Justin. So how did this whole build start?
So maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I had a Mark II Volkswagen, like a 1985 Golf, and actually crashed it. And while I was getting it fixed, I bought I think a 92 Miata just to drive around, and ended up tracking that a little bit. And at one point, I was like, man, it'd be cool if I could combine those two cars. And then that's essentially how this ended up. So it's a Mark I Rabbit, so a little bit older, and then on top of an NA Miata. So it's
on top of a Miata.
Yeah, they kind of just match up almost.
A little bit of Honda in there also.
Yes, yeah, a little bit of Honda, a little bit of BMW, a little bit of Ford, a little bit of everything. So
yeah, it's pretty wild. I'm really digging the aero package.
Thank you.
So did you design the car in CFD?
Not originally.
So you just kind of winged it and did what looked fast, and then did you end up getting it scanned, or did you wind tunnel it?
Yeah, so at some point it did get scanned. So I like aerodynamic stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, study it as a hobby type thing.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like
for sure.
I had some basic ideas of what would work, what I could get away with, and have it not be like completely messed up. And then a lot of just theoretical whatever, and also a lot of like what I thought looked cool. So kind of all together, but it seemed to work. And then a company actually scanned it a couple years after I'd been driving it, and kind of validated some of the stuff that I was doing. But they also gave me some changes that needed to be done to fix issues that I made.
What all did they tell you to fix?
The biggest one was adding this guy and this guy. So my rear wing, because hatchbacks do funny things.
Yeah.
With air, the rear wing was only working at like 60 or 70%.
No kidding.
So they designed this little trunk thing and that little beam wing in the middle, and it went to working at like 95%.
Wow.
To the point where I had to go up 200 pounds in the rear on the springs and change up dynamics because I started melting through the fenders.
So I'm guessing you're getting a bunch of turbulent air, and then this just kind of helped redirect it back underneath the wing.
Yeah, I thought the air would just do this and just go right into the wing, but it was it would hug the
swirling.
Yep, it would hug the hatch. So he essentially made me a trunk.
Yeah.
And then once it builds up on the trunk, it catches the beam wing and then forces everything there.
This probably helps with like stagnation pressure under the wing.
Yep, and then it keeps the wing and the diffuser separated. So I mean, again, hatchback problems with aero, so it's like sedans are the better choice, but
of course.
But I like hatchbacks.
Yeah, and they're light.
Yeah,
they're light.
Yeah. So, but that fixed a lot of stuff, and then a few other things with the flat floor. They told me to extend it, do a few things, and then I sent them the design for this diffuser, and they validated that my idea for the diffuser was going to work correctly versus the basic one that I had before.
So how many degrees on that diffuser?
It ends up being close to about 18.
Wow.
But
that's wild.
Yeah. But with the flat floor, and if you can look at it from the side, it's two-stage. So there's one stage, it levels out for a second and then goes to a second one, and then it's tunneled. So the tunnel actually expands itself. So there's a lot of spots for air to like stay in contact with everything. Right. So the first section works good at low speed, and then once you get moving, then it's the second section starts to take over and work well there.
So what's the idea behind the side skirts being curved?
It's supposed to help seal the floor a little bit.
Seal it?
Yeah.
So you kind of get like a vortex coming off the tip of it?
So the air off of the tires will interact with the side skirt, and that'll swirl the air, and that swirl will actually interact with the ground and the side splitter and kind of seal it off with like an air dam or air pocket. And then direct everything that way. So any spillage from the front or the tire gets either sealed back in there or rides along that tunnel. It's kind of just helps direct the air and then keep what's under the car.
Very cool. So looks like your floor is what, about 3 inches off the ground?
Yeah, give or take about 3 inches in the front and then 4.5 in the back. The car's got a decent amount of rake to it.
Okay, some decent rake.
Yeah.
So how much downforce is you making?
When it was scanned before this diffuser, it was 2,300 pounds at 150 miles an hour.
Jeez.
So now it's should be a little bit more with the rear diffuser, but it's
Yeah.
You know, it's plenty.
So is this more of a middle of the ground, like mid-speed or slow-speed car? Are you more tuned to slow-speed tracks, or?
It does well at 100 miles an hour. Everything really works really well. When I got the CFD for the wing and everything, I made sure that we ran data stuff at 60 miles an hour. Like, I picked numbers that were realistic.
Yeah.
And the car, you know, has done 150. So it's like I wanted up to 150. So it's like, give me the numbers, because I could do it at 300 miles an hour and say it makes 6 tons of downforce.
Yeah,
but it's like, that's, what's the point? So, but it's like, it does, the car is very effective between 60 to 100 miles an hour. After 100, the downforce kind of jumps up pretty high. You get a little bit more drag, but it's, you know, the car's got the power to push through it. So it's not a lot.
It's pretty linear drag. It's not quite exponential.
No, over like 170, you know, it gets whatever, but it's not going there. It's not designed for that so much.
That's rad. So what kind of tires are you running? These are a little bit different than what we see out here.
Yep, it's a company called American Racer. They do a lot of circle track stuff, and like I want to say like entry level, like stock car stuff.
Stock cars.
But it's one of the few places that makes like a nice 15-inch slick. They're a bias ply, so they're a little squirmy, a little bouncy, which means I can run the high spring rates for the aero and kind of use the tires for suspension instead of having to deal with some other stuff. That, and they're $160 a piece.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So yeah, it's nice, and they last pretty well. They're, you know, I'm not gonna say they're the fastest tire out there, but it's like you can run laps on them. They're quick, they're predictable, and they don't break away violently. So it's like it's a good tire to go fast and drive on. That's not gonna try and kill you right away.
Help you control the car with this much aero.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I have to run pretty stiff springs. Yeah. The spring rates are pretty stiff, so it's like running normal tires. I've ran some Yokohama tires and a few other tires before, and it's like you could tell that they're not squishy.
Yeah, it's just super reactive. Like,
yeah, it's real twitchy. It's nice, very crisp.
Twitchy. Yeah.
But bumps are definitely big bumps and everything else. These tires eat up a lot of the bumps because they.
So how much spring rate do you have to do with that much downforce?
Again, I'm not sure exactly how it translates to K, but it's the rear is 1,000 pounds, which I think is like 28K. Jeez. And then the front is 1,600, which I think is 32 or 34K or something like that.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's a lot to be said for Miata motion ratios and stuff, so it's not that bad, but...
well, you have an entire car worth of downforce sitting on top of you.
Yeah.
So you need to be sprung for 2 cars.
But I used to run 800 in the rear, and then when they fixed the wing... I had to go up to 1,000 because it literally was crushing the back down on the straight, so it was cool to get some validation on that end. But
so did you make the wing yourself, the front wing? Yeah,
I did all of the aero and everything for the car myself. I didn't do the cage. I had a friend that owned a shop do that because
it's
safety.
Full tubular chassis.
The floor pan is still stock.
It's got a floor pan in it.
Yeah, it's got a floor pan, but nothing is really tied to it. Everything is pretty much tied to the cage. So,
for sure.
But it's tube front and rear, you know, kind of multi-point FAA spec cage for everything. But
very cool.
It's kind of the only way you can shove something into this.
I take it you're running Global Time Attack?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Have you run yet this season, or?
I did the Global Time Attack finals in November, so I guess last season, and we lost an engine essentially during practice. So
but how much power are you making?
470.
Okay,
so it's not a crazy amount. It's a stock engine.
Yeah.
So you know we're building up one for more power, but it's like after the process of getting this going over the last 2 years, and then that one engine failing, we decided. We're just going to run something a little more conservative, get everything dialed in that we've changed, and then go for power after. But
yeah, that's what I want to put in my car. Nice, like 450, be able to use all that aero.
Yeah, I mean the K series will do it comfortably in stock form, so it's not.
Yeah,
it's not really stressing the motor too much.
Man, I like that motor placement.
Yeah, about as far back as I can.
Yeah, about as far back as you can, exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Fill the coolant through the windshield wiper hole, and then there's an access panel in the inside of the car to get at the 4th coil pack.
Yeah. So what kind of control arms are those off?
It's a company called V8 Roadster that makes V8 stuff for Miatas.
Okay, so it's a Miata suspension.
Yep, it's Miata subframes, control arms, suspension, 949 wheels, the 6UL. So it's all of the stuff that would be tricky to set up is all based off Miata because there's tons of support, tons of data to look into to like get the car dialed in, and then it gives it a really good starting point. And then kind of work from there.
That's rad. I love this car. Every time I see it out there, I'm giddy.
Yeah, well, hopefully you get it out there more.
Yeah, right. So, can we take a look at the inside?
Absolutely.
Admire some of that cage work. I like all the carbon bits.
Here, hold on
Man, that's really smart. You just did a carbon skin on a standard door.
Yeah, it made having to deal with hinges and everything.
Yeah, all the hard molding part of a carbon door. And
exactly.
It's like basically just a skin.
Yeah, maybe one day I'll do a full carbon door, but the door weighs the door weighs 15, 20 pounds as is, so it's like I'll be dropping little bits of stuff.
Appreciate it.
Hey, no worries.
Pretty rowdy.
Perfect.
Yeah, she's looking good. How much she weigh?
2250 is my estimate right now.
2250.
Yeah, with the previous setup with the F series, and then I had a 4-speed dog box. It weighed 2,015 pounds, but it has an 8-speed from a BMW in it now, and it's a little bit heavier.
Really?
So I'm assuming another 100 pounds with the change from the K series to that.
8-speed automatic.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the poor man sequential.
Huh. Well, how much does it cost to convert a K series to something like that?
This setup all in was about 5,500.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
There's a little bit of teething issues with the old transmission controller, but once I swapped to something a little more user-friendly, it just works. Like, and the shift speeds are in the 150 to 200 millisecond range.
Wow.
So it's, it's not sequential speeds, but I don't know what I'd say, a human blinks in 200 milliseconds, so it's good enough.
Yeah, and for $5,000, like.
It's also nice to put in auto mode and just roll it into the trailer.
Yeah,
without having to do anything.
Sure. And then you don't have to deal with a clutch pedal. You just do your left foot braking. I mean,
it's just like driving a regular
just
car.
Like, yep. Very cool, man. I love all the carbon work.
Thank you.
So did you kind of teach yourself how to do carbon work, or how did that all start?
This was my entry into carbon stuff.
Wow, very impressive.
When we were getting the cage built, got to the point where we needed to cut the roof off to finish the cage. So I had mentioned I wanted to start doing composite stuff, and that was the first thing I ever made was the roof. Made a mold of that, and then it just kind of took off to everything else. So there's a lot of stuff that's not the best because it was some of the first stuff I ever made, but there's a lot of stuff that's I've made newer that's a lot better.
Yeah.
So
that wing is very impressive.
Yeah, that's one of the newer things.
I call it a wing, but it's a diffuser, kinda.
Yeah.
It's front lip. So did you? How did you get that shape? You use a CNC router, or?
No, that's an actual wing shape.
Okay.
Went on you can do this with just about any wing, but there's databases online where you can go and look up coefficients of lift, drag, and then there's a few places that will CNC cut foam shape for you. So I ordered
like a send cut send or
the NACA airfoil.
Similar, yeah. There's like an airfoil database that's got thousands of them. So found one that fit what I was looking for. Had a company CNC it, massive size because they do like full scale RC planes and stuff. So it's like they cut it out.
RC planes.
Yep. Cut it out, change the shape a little bit to kind of flatten out the middle, and then wrapped in carbon. That's the same with the rear wing.
That's so smart. That's what stopped me from building a carbon wing. It was, how do I get that shape? Like, I don't have a CNC router. You outsource it. Of course.
Just have someone else do it. I mean, now people will 3D print everything. Yeah. So it's like you do that, but it's inexpensive. It was like $300 for them to ship that whole thing, and then however much it costs for the composite side of stuff. But it's
very cool.
It's pretty easy. And again, the rear wing is made the exact same way. I mean, I made that 5 or 6 years ago. It actually flew off the car at one point.
Jeez.
At Coda at like 140, and then
Wow.
Nothing happened. It didn't even damage itself, so it's still
Yeah.
on the car.
To have that much cantilever on a wing that makes that much downforce is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You have to have some serious structure probably holding that thing back there.
Yeah, I mean, it's all tubes. It's attached straight to the cage, which is straight down to the subframe.
Is that just like a 1/4 inch of layer after layer of carbon?
Yeah, it's I think it's 8 mil.
8
so
mil?
whatever that is, close to 3/8 of a solid carbon.
Wow.
It used to have aluminum ones, and that's what failed at Coda.
Yep.
They buckled under the
Jeez.
downforce and sent the wing 200 feet into the air. And,
Jeez.
but again, it
Does that
survived.
hatch open up?
No.
It's all fixed.
No.
I mean,
yeah.
technically, like, it can, but it's,
it takes
a
an
little
hour.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes some time.
Very cool, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm always stoked to see you out here. So we're at Streets. What's your PB here at Streets?
119 is the fastest I've ever gone
119.
here.
That's flying.
So that's, trying to get back into that range. It's been a couple years since I've been able to do laps consistently. So
Yeah.
we're out here testing for Coda in April.
Very cool.
Dialing stuff in for that.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you showing us the car.
Not a problem.
I guess we'll call it there.
Yeah.
But you want to shout out your Instagram and?
Yeah, if you want to follow the car, it's S2KWabbit on Instagram, and then on Facebook and YouTube, all that stuff. It's all under there. So, we try and keep it up to date. The Instagram's got from day one until 20 minutes ago for the car. So, lots of stuff there.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you.
Not a problem.
Yeah.